What is going on, Boo Bob? Today, I want to really talk about losing people, right? If you have been through an era or are currently in an era where you find yourself kind of walking away from people, people walking away from you, or you have been letting go of old friendships, old family members, old, even coworkers, things of that sort. And you're just sitting here and you're thinking to yourself, what is happening? What has my life become? Why don't I have friends, people I can connect with like I used to? You're kind of living in the past a little bit, but you're also trying to move forward and you're doing it in the name of healing. Stick around because I want to give you a perspective that has really helped me. Okay. And I think that a lot of times the biggest issue that I see with the healing journey is that everyone kind of knows and understands that, you're going to have to go through some hard things, get rid of some stuff, in order for you to become your best version of yourself. But the depth of pain that we experience, especially because we're releasing things and people that really do connect to our comfort zones, is deep and it's not easy. And I think when I was in the era of losing people or letting go of people, there was a few things that I experienced. I experienced boredom because, I was used to running away from my life, my responsibility and things of that sort by connecting with people, whether they were people that I felt I actually wanted to connect with or not, right? I felt a level of loneliness because I was like, I just want to be around people, or I want people to like me. I want people to be in my life so that I have things to do, people to talk to, things of that sort. However, I lacked fulfillment in a lot of my relationships and a lot of my connections. And one thing that was super helpful for me is if you have been the kind of person that has looked back at all of your relationships and been like, wow, my relationships sucked. I have been around toxic people my whole life. Like, I just consistently attract toxic people. And when I look back, as much as I was pouring into these relationships were super toxic. I don't know if you've been there. I've been there. And I've been on both sides. I've been the toxic one, and I've also been the one receiving a lot of toxicity. And really the reason why I'm on both sides is because that was my life. From childhood, my family was super, super toxic. And so that's all I really knew. And I accepted a lot of toxicity while being as good of a person as I possibly could, but I also had my own secrets, and I also was the type of person that absorbed some of that toxicity, right? So it was a mirrored thing that was going on. What I was accepting, I continued to receive. What I was giving is also what I was getting as well. And so life was good, bad, and I had great connections and I had really tough connections, but all the ones that I had to get rid of, walk away from, let go of, they were super toxic. And I don't know about you, Boo Bop, but one of the hardest things that I found during this whole healing journey is that forgiving yourself is the hardest part. Forgiving yourself for going through all of that toxicity and accepting what you've accepted, especially when you get to a place of actually seeing yourself and loving yourself and you're finally pouring into you. Even when I'm over the situation, even when I have, moved past it and now I'm like excited for newer connections, I still find myself, like randomly remembering and being like, why did I allow myself to be treated that way? Why did I fucking go towards that? Why did I experience this thing, right? And it's just this consistent reminder of what it is that I've accepted every so often. And so one thing that I had to start to teach myself was that every single one of these people had value in our lives. And I know that a lot of people do this. A lot of people, they'll tell themselves to make themselves feel better, everyone is a lesson or a blessing. And I love that because it's true, period. Everyone is a blessing and a lesson. I don't think it's either or. I think they're both blessings and lessons. However, I think even when we have knowledge, how we feel is still very much connected to that. So even if we have the knowledge that this person's a lesson or a blessing and needed to be in your life and it makes sense for your life, you're still looking at yourself and coming down on yourself for being so stupid, for not listening to your intuition, for falling for that person, that guy, that thing, that this. You get on yourself. And I want to give you a perspective that I think is going to be very helpful for you to understand why it is that we keep certain things around, why it is that we pour into people, and the part where we can actually start to shift the way we are seeing things, okay? Right now, I'm going to compare toxic relationships, the toxic people that we had been in a relationship with, and I'm not just talking romantic, I mean platonic friendships, coworkers, things of that sort. People that you found yourself either close to or accepting, keeping around, that you poured into, that ended up being very toxic and something you need to let go of, or you're in a position where you're like, I need to let go of this, but I'm not sure why I'm continuing to have it. I'm going to compare these people to trash. Okay? Not trying to call them trash or anything, but for a second, let's pretend that they're trash for a second. When you think of trash, you think of something that's dirty, nasty, thrown away, isn't necessarily for you. You don't care for it. You're just like, ugh, right? Trash is just like, ew, that's dirty. Like, I don't touch trash, right? It's a no for me, okay? But I want us to really think about the importance of trash, okay? Before trash becomes this dirty thing that you can't, stand the smell, and you're struggling to really accept it for what it is, like you can't stand it, it's actually one of the most valuable things that every single one of us need and have in our own homes, right? When you think about a home, when you think about a place, even our cars, anywhere really, trash cans are one of the things that are top of the list. To get a trash can and trash bags, that's like urgency. There's urgency behind that. I need to get more trash bags. I need to get a trash can. And depending on how you are and who you are, you're willing to pay good money to have a trash can and trash bags. You're willing to pay a good amount of money to go buy trash bags because you want to have a good amount so that you never run out. And in the days where you do run out of trash bags, it is aggravating and it is urgent for you to get up and go get more trash bags. Why? Because trash is valuable, needed, and very necessary. And everything that you pour into trash had great value at one point. It was good, right? The food that you throw into a trash, either it has expired or it's one of those things where you just couldn't finish it. But before it expired and before you couldn't finish it, it was something that you wanted, maybe craved, really loved, really enjoyed, and it probably treated you right when you first had it. Trash, when we think of people being trash, when we think of trash in general, we look at it from the perspective of it's nasty. But before it was nasty, it was good. It was necessary and it was valuable. Trash cans and trash bags are so valuable to almost everybody. Have you ever had trash in your hands walking around outside and there's nowhere to throw it away? And if you're the type of person that doesn't like to litter, you're really walking for a while just looking for a trash can? It's aggravating. You have to hold it, you got to put it in your pocket, you got to do something like that. You're like, can I throw this away? You need the trash. Interestingly enough, people are the same thing. That toxic person that's in your life, or that became toxic in your life, was valuable at one point, was very valuable to your life, whether that was on a soul level or that's simply because it started off really well and ended up toxic, ended up being a problem. It expired. And usually where we get hurt the most is when we keep something for too long. The moment that the trash is full, the moment that the trash starts to smell, the moment that the trash has been here too long, you throw it out. You make sure to throw it out every week, sometimes every day, if you have a trash chute or you have, one of those trash cans in your backyard or something of that sort. Usually, the trash can, when it gets full, when it gets too smelly, when it starts to show up as something that could end up or potentially be toxic in your home, toxic in your environment, that is when you throw it out. The thing with people is that we don't necessarily do that with them. We'll keep them around, even when it starts smelling. Even when it's not feeling, the relationship's not feeling so good, we'll still keep them because we have this thing that we've learned in society that we have to keep people, right? Because it's important to have people. The more friends you have, the more society looks at you and say, oh, you must be a very liked person, right? The more family you have, you don't even have really a say around family because you're just supposed to love them, right? Society teaches you how to treat people. And yet, no matter how toxic they get, we're holding on to them. Meanwhile, we understand that when things are toxic in our homes, to throw them away, to let them go, to release them. And so during this healing journey, that is what everyone's learning. Everyone's learning how to release and let go of things that have expired. Let go of things that just simply are not meant to go any longer. And if they go any longer in your life, or you keep them any longer, well, it will expire and it will become toxic. You keep food in your life too long, or you let rice stay outside for too long in heat, you're gonna get worms. And now you got worms in your house, so you got worms in your environment, and it don't feel good. And now you have to do extra work to clean it up. Now it's extra disgusting, extra hurtful, right? Because now you're like, oh my goodness, all this work that I have to do, all this energy that I have to put in to just clean this up didn't have to happen if I just cleaned it up at the time where it expired. And for us, we can physically see when trash piles up. We can physically smell when it's not doing so well, when it's time for it to go. And as much as we think that we can't really do that with people, we can. We can always sense when a relationship is off or when somebody starts to switch. Energy is super loud. Even when you tell yourself, oh my God, I had no clue. You had a clue. You may not have wanted to listen and or follow the clue, but you had a clue. And I hear people say it all the time. I literally have no intuition. There's no way I could have known. Everyone knows. That's the one thing that every single human is born with. Intuition, a knowing, premonition, the ability to understand something. And I don't care who you are, what your background is, what your religion is, where you come from, it is true about you. The power that lies within you is real. There's a reason why we're seeing such an uptick in tarot. Tarot is a tool to help you understand your intuition even clearer, even more, right? So why can so many people do it? Because everyone has intuition. How well they do it is up to them. Every person gets to decide how deeply they're going to enhance their intuition, enhance their own power. But you have it. And what happens is you intuitively understand, oh, it don't smell too good. Let me get it out of here. This trash is not smelling well. And if I leave it here, it's going to stink up the whole house and it's going to this and it's going to that. Something tells me that doesn't necessarily only come from experience because you've experienced it before. There's a part of you that intuitively knows and understands, oh, when something smells off and bad in the house, get it out. It's the same thing with people. And I hope that this example makes sense. I needed to bring it down to trash because I need us to understand two things. One, even though we can look at a situation and see how horrid it was, see how difficult it was, see how hard it was. We need to remember that although we don't love that, and although it is hurtful, it was still valuable in our lives. And that value could be the lesson was necessary in order for you to be who you are, or in order for you to get to where you're going, or in order for you to experience what needed to be experienced. At the end of the day, the value that these toxic people hold are quite high and necessary, even though we don't like it. I don't really like putting my hands in trash. I don't like necessarily having to clean up trash. It's not the best. And yet I understand the value of trash. I understand that if I am in my home, I'm going to have trash cans, one in the kitchen, one in the bathroom, one here, one there. If I run out of trash bags, I am running out to make sure that I have more trash bags. There's value in this. However, the connection that I have with this trash is, or the contract, if you will, is once this thing is filled, once it starts to smell, once it no longer aligns with that positive vibe, with that good vibe of this is something that I need, it has to go. It has to go, right? Now, when it gets halfway full and I'm starting to realize, oh, okay, I got to take out the trash soon, I'm prepared to take it out. Maybe I have time, right? I don't necessarily have to take it out at halfway full because it's like, oh, I have some time. It's all good, right? But if I put some rice in there, it's super, super hot and it's not fully full yet, I know for a fact that that rice will turn into worms in 2.5 seconds. I'm taking that trash out. I'm not keeping it in. I'm not waiting to see if maybe sort of kind of it might happen because something in me already knows that it's very possible and will happen. And so before anything bad takes place, before I have to go through the inconvenience and the pain of having to clean up worms that I really don't want to see, touch, or have in my home, I'm going to just take the trash out. And this is where we struggle when it comes to people. We will feel that something has changed, that someone has shifted, or that an intention has shifted, and we refuse to take the trash out. We refuse to let go of the person because we're so tied to what this person's supposed to mean. We think that the value doesn't change. The reality is that empty trash bag was highly valued when it was empty, new, straight out of the box, and straight into this brand new bin. That value was super high. And the reason why it was super high is because I need it so that I can fill it with trash. It's helping me. The moment that it's full, or the moment that it becomes too toxic, or something that I can no longer have in my home, my space, my environment, it now loses its value in terms of what I need it for. It's just not needed anymore. I can't keep the same trash bag. Now, you can't be the type of person that pours out the trash and keeps the bag, but if the bag itself is super dirty and filled with a lot of things that is still making your house smell, that's not really getting rid of the problem, and that's what we tend to do. We may get rid of the person, but then we're still attracting the same characteristics. We're still accepting the same types of things. We're still allowing people to treat us the same kind of way. That's a problem. You have to actually look at the bag, at the people, the characteristics, the things that you're experiencing, and say, okay, what am I throwing out? What am I no longer accepting in my life? How do I get rid of something that I don't really want anymore? Not just in them, but for myself. How do I make sure that I'm not attracted to this anymore? And I'm gonna tell you, the number one way to do it is to admit it to yourself. Because if you never look at the trash, it will forever pile up. If you continue to pretend like it's not there, it'll forever pile up. If you continue to be like, whoa, what's that smell? And ignore it, it will forever pile up. And it's the same thing with connections and people in your life. If you continue to invite the same kind of energies in and act like you have no idea what's going on, you'll forever get the same result. You'll forever deal with the same type of energy, and you will forever go through the same type of things, and you will end up hurt. And when you get hurt, you're going to be like, why do I always go through this? And the universe is going to be like, well, let me throw you another one, and you're going to accept the other one. And the universe is going to be like, that's why you always go through it, because you're always accepting it and playing blind, acting like you do not see it. And the thing is that you do. As much as you want to tell yourself you don't, you do. Your intuition is clear. Your intuition is in your face. You see it very clearly, but because you don't necessarily have proof, or because, you don't necessarily believe in yourself, trust yourself, you're looking at it from the perspective of, there's no way, impossible, couldn't be me, couldn't be true. But the reality is that it's true. When a change is taking place with you and someone, when something needs to end, when someone or a connection that you have in your life is over and expired, it comes to you energetically first. Nothing has to happen between you and that person. Actually, most relationships can be perfectly fine. It ends way before it ends. Any relationship you've ever ended most likely has ended way before it actually ends. We as people just tend to take a longer time to do it because we're so emotionally tied to whatever it is that we got going on. And let's be clear, sometimes it's not even about the person. We're not so emotionally tied to the person, just like we're not emotionally tied to the trash bag. We're emotionally tied to what they represent, to what we thought was going to happen, to our hopes and our dreams of how this was all supposed to go down. We're emotionally tied to the energy and the effort we put into this person, how much we invested in this person. But just like that trash bag, you could have spent a lot of money on some trash bags and a shit ton of money on a trash can, but the moment it's broken, or the moment it doesn't work, or the moment the trash is full, you're going to take it out. You're not going to look at it and say, whoa, I spent way too much money for me to have to get rid of this. I'm going to just sit here and I'm going to keep using it. Now, hoarders, I don't know how y'all do it. So if you're a hoarder, I don't know. But most of the time, that is how it works. You're going to throw out the trash, knowing that you spent a pretty penny on that trash bag. Knowing that you got a lot of trash bags for X amount of money, that money doesn't matter. You just know it has to go because you understand its function. And it's the same thing with connections. Some connections, yeah, they could last forever. I think all connections could last forever. How toxic or non-toxic they are is up to you. How much are you continuously pouring into it and making sure that it is staying on a positive note? And positive doesn't mean that y'all don't have deep conversations or that it doesn't get real. It just simply means that, ooh, we are in alignment. Our values are the same and we're connected. It is not toxic on either side because we are consistently communicating and consistently growing together. But something is happening where people understand and feel when something is shifting, because one person may have a beautiful intention of growing and being great together, and the other person has a completely different intention, one that could be completely in opposition with the other person's intention. And when that happens, we're in a toxic playing field, or we're about to move into one. Every relationship ends way before it actually ends. And so if you're feeling it energetically, something here is off, something here is wrong, you got to listen to that. And if you spend a long time trying to figure out and get proof, well, the universe will provide you proof and you will end up hurt. But there's a beautiful thing when there's a mutual understanding, when someone can just feel something's a little off here and understand when to just back off, back away, or let go. And we don't do that enough with our connections. We tend to only do it when things get really bad or we get really hurt. And even when we get really hurt, we still want to go back to it. We still want to go take it out of, the dumpster and be like, you know what? Maybe I threw it away too fast. Maybe I didn't work on it enough. But the reality is that it's supposed to be a two-part thing where both sides are working together. Otherwise, if it's too toxic, if it's a problem for you in your life, you got to get rid of it. You got to let it go. So when you're kind of sitting down and you're thinking to yourself, how did I let all of these people do the same thing? Why did I do this? Why is this happening? Well, I'll tell you why. You valued it and you had reason to value it. That connection was valuable in your life. You needed to learn something from it. They came in and it was fulfilling because it gave you everything, or that relationship gave you everything that you actually genuinely needed and wanted at that time. There was value as to why you guys came together, who this person was, and who and how they showed up in your life. But now, something's shifted. Something has changed. Something truly is not the same. And you want to know why it's not the same? The intention could have shifted. Or what I like to say, an expiration date. It's just simply expired. It's just simply not it no more. It's just simply time to throw it out. And sometimes it's that simple. You have fulfilled your duty, your contract, your energy with this person. There's nothing else that needs to happen. It gets toxic and it becomes more of a problem when you don't learn, when you don't know how to let go. And when we hold on and continue to hold on and continue to hold on, we actually end up more hurt than we need to be because we just don't know how to let go. And not to say that letting go on your own is going to be so easy, but I promise you it hurts a lot less than if you wait for the universe to do it, or if you wait for things to get really bad for it to happen. So when you're thinking about your relationships and you're thinking about why you let X, Y, and Z take place, it's because you valued it. And you took that value and you thought, I have to keep it forever. You never put an actual expiration date on it, or you never actually looked at it, reevaluated it, and made sure that there's still real growth and there's still really two people with the same intention. You just kind of said, I know energetically, I kind of feel like something's off, but I'm going to ignore that. And I'm going to just keep writing this out until it becomes a problem in my life. And then it does. We do it all the time with our connections. We value the connection and we want that value to stay the same, or we continue to value it even though that person is devaluing us. Something is changing within the connection. And there's a very strong importance to understand when it's just simply time to let go. Just like you can throw away your trash, even though you value trash, is the same way certain connections, you just have to know when to throw it away. I know that sounds a little harsh because it's like, no one's trash. But the reality is yeah, they say it all the time. One man's trash, another man's treasure. And that's actually very true. Extremely true. There's nothing wrong with trash, to be completely honest. Things that people are like, this doesn't work. Somebody else can look at it and be like, I'm going to make it into something fantastic. And that's amazing. But when we're afraid to let go of connections, we're afraid to let go of people because of what we think it's supposed to be, what we think it's supposed to turn into, or what we've decided it's supposed to turn into, and it doesn't, well, we're doing ourselves a disservice. Hopefully this is something that kind of helps you to think about the relationships that you've let go of but haven't forgiven yourself about, or to really look at the relationships you're keeping around, why you're staying stuck, how you are valuing it, and does that value actually still align? And are you valuing other relationships over your own self, your own peace, your own genuine wants and needs? Did a relationship in your life expire way before you let go of it? Or are you still lying to yourself, telling yourself that, no, it didn't? Because most of them do every single time. I'm gonna end it right there. Hopefully this was helpful. Let me know what you think. Give me some background on your relationships and what you've been through and how you've experienced things, because this is something that I started understanding. I let the trash pile up. That's how I moved. I let the trash pile up. I let it get tall. I let it get smelly. I let it do all that it needed to do. And I still didn't know how to let it go. The trash had to get up and walk away from me sometimes, until finally I learned how to walk away from it. A lot of people tend to do that. And then they tell themselves they're not worthy and they suck and life sucks. But that's not true. You're just allowing things to stick around way longer than they should. That's all I got for you. Till next time. Bye.